All right, good evening, everyone. I know it's a small group in here right now. Father Patrick is at Mass next door, so he'll be joining us in a few minutes. So good evening to those that are here with us and for those that are watching from home. Thank you for joining our info session on next year's pilgrimage to Portugal and Spain. There's a sign-up sheet in the front and a one-pager with QR codes that you can share or review the live stream later on after this meeting. You can hold your questions until the end. We'll have plenty of time to answer any of your questions. So for those that don't know me, my name is Nikki. I'm one of the secretaries here at Our Lady of Lourdes and also the pilgrimage coordinator for this trip to Portugal and Spain next year. The Camino de Santiago, also known as the Way of St. James, is a network of ancient pilgrimage routes that lead to the Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela in northwest Spain, where the remains of St. James the Apostle are believed to be buried. It has been a major Christian pilgrimage since the Middle Ages and is now popular with pilgrims, hikers, and adventure seekers from around the world. There are several routes. The Camino Francés is the most popular route. It starts from Saint Jean Pied de Port in France, which is about 500 miles. The Camino del Norte is a scenic but challenging coastal route along the northern Spain. The Camino Primitivo is the oldest and most rugged route, starting from Oviedo. Camino Português is the route we will be taking. Traditionally, it starts in Lisbon or Porto, following the coast or central path. We will be walking the last 74 miles of the central route of the Camino Português, which starts from the border of Portugal and Spain in Tui to Compostela. You need to walk 62.1 miles in order to receive the Compostela certificate. Why do people walk the Camino? Religious reasons. It's a spiritual journey or a personal pilgrimage. It's an adventure and fitness. Some people like to do it for the long distance trek through beautiful landscapes. Some people do it for self-discovery. It's a time for personal reflection and growth. And some people do it for the cultural experience. You'll be meeting travelers from all over the world. We are scheduled to be on this pilgrimage from September 14 to September 27 of next year. It's $4,400 for the land-only package based on double occupancy. It's estimated to be $1,400 for round-trip airfare from JFK to Lisbon and from Porto back to JFK. The price in the airline will be determined in November of 2025, later this year. Solo occupancy is $700 and solo space is limited. The land-only package includes 12 nights of lodging accommodations in a double occupancy room. Please note that not all rooms or hotels have amenities such as refrigerators, hot kettles, free Wi-Fi, or even air conditioning. A pro-roam tour manager will be included throughout the duration of our trip. Professional English-speaking guides for all visits according to our itinerary are also included. Tours and all entry tickets and daily buffet and daily dinner is also included. Water and house wine at meals are included, deluxe air-conditioned coach bus when required, with Wi-Fi available on the bus. We will still walk about 4 to 7 miles daily on non-Camino walking days. The motor coach will be nearby and available should there be an emergency, and we will go over in more detail what that would look like later on in this meeting. An audio guiding system throughout the course of the trip will also be included. The land package does not include personal expenses. It does not include daily lunch. It doesn't include beverages other than water and house wine at the meals. Trip insurance is not included, but it is available for purchase through Pro-Roam. So right now it's estimated to be $175 for the land-only double occupancy package per person, and Pro-Roam will send you an email right after you've registered with that information. Gratuities for the tour manager and driver is not included, and it's suggested that you pay $20 to $30 for each per person. So on day one, we leave JFK to Lisbon to meet our tour guide and driver. You're allowed to bring one medium checked-in bag, luggage, and one carry-on, and one personal item. On day 2, after our overnight flight, we arrive in Portugal, we get our luggage, we meet our tour manager and our bus driver for a panoramic tour of Lisbon. We will visit St. Antonio Chapel, built on the site of where St. Anthony's birthplace. We will celebrate Mass, followed by free time for lunch, and after lunch, we will depart for Fatima to check into our hotel for dinner and overnight. The candlelight procession in the sanctuary will be available for anyone interested, but you're also welcome to rest if you are tired from travel. On day 3 after breakfast, we will meet one of the sisters from a local convent in Fatima. We will learn about the 3 shepherd children, Lucia dos Santos and her cousins Francisco and Jacinta Marto, and visit the hamlet of El Justrel, where they lived. We will visit the site where Our Lady appeared in Velinos, and depending on the availability, we'll celebrate Mass at the Basilica or the Chapel of Apparitions. We'll have free time for prayer and before ending an evening of rosary procession in Fatima. So on day 4 after breakfast, we leave Fatima for Tui. Tui is one of the traditional starting points for those walking to Santiago. On the way to Tui, we will stop at Braga, which is also known as Portuguese Rome, for a guided tour of the famous Bom Jesus do Monte Sanctuary and celebrate Mass. After an independent lunch, we will continue on to Tui and check in at our hotel, where you can enjoy a free afternoon to explore, rest, or sightsee. We will meet back at the hotel for dinner and a briefing on the following day. So on day 5 after breakfast, we start walking the Camino de Santiago from Tui in Spain to Oporino, which is about 11.6 miles. We celebrate Mass before departing for Oporino, and we will pace ourselves. There will be time to rest, use the bathroom, nourish ourselves, and it's about 1.5 to 3 miles in between stops if bathrooms are needed. And once we reach the hotel, you can rest before we have dinner. So on day 6 after breakfast and Mass, we will be walking 9.4 miles from Oporino to Redondola, also known as the Village of the Viaducts. Although this will be the shortest walk of the pilgrimage, there will be a few steep parts of the route. Since we will be approaching the meeting of the coastal and central routes of the Camino, you'll see more and more pilgrims along the way. We check in to our hotel and for dinner and rest for the evening. So on day 7, we walk 11.3 miles from Redondola to Pontevedra. After breakfast and Mass, we begin our 3rd day of the Camino. Leaving Redondola, we will cross the Roman bridge of Ponte São Paulo, known for the battle of where the locals fought Napoleon. We will walk through the country and reach the more challenging legs of our journey uphill to reach over to Pontevedra. You could visit the Church of the Virgin Pilgrim, one of the most beautiful churches found anywhere in Spain, and then we will meet back at the hotel for dinner and overnight. So on day 8 after breakfast and Mass, we walk 14.3 miles from Pontevedra to Caldas de Reis. And as we leave Pontevedra, we will cross the Ponte de Burgo Bridge as we head inland to the route up to Santiago de Compostela. We will pass through the eucalyptus forests and running streams, and along the way we plan on visiting a wine tasting at a local winery before we reach Caldas de Reis, also known for their thermal waters that have been used since Roman times. We may even have time to enjoy the baths ourselves before dinner and before our stay at the hotel. So on day 9 after breakfast and Mass, we will be walking 13 miles from Caldas de Reis to Padrón, known for its famous peppers. Upon arrival, we will check into our hotel for a much-needed rest and dinner together. On day 10, we walk 14.1 miles from Padrón to Santiago. After breakfast, on our way, we will visit A Escravitude, the beautiful Marian sanctuary, and one of the last stops before we reach Santiago. The path continues to climb towards Santiago, and we will soon see the towers of the cathedral. Once we reach the cathedral, we will venerate the tomb of the Apostle James. We will check into the hotel to freshen up, relax, or venture out into Santiago. We meet back at the hotel for dinner and overnight. So on day 11, after breakfast, we spend a full day in Santiago. We tour the old quarter and the cathedral. And after Mass, everyone is free for an afternoon to enjoy lunch or siesta. They will also have the option to view the Bota Fumero ceremony in the cathedral for anyone that's interested. And it's similar to like an incense ceremony, like a large incense ceremony. In the afternoon, we meet again and visit the cathedral rooftops for a great view of the sun going down over the city. And we will have free time and back at the hotel for dinner. So on day 12, we'll have a free day after breakfast and celebrating Mass. Everyone is entitled to a full free day of leisure in Santiago. Everyone could either explore, pray, shop, and rest. We meet in the evening for hotel and dinner overnight. After a few days walking on the Camino, many people might just want to rest. You know, it is a lot of walking for those that are not used to all of that walking. So we wanted to make sure that we had some rest days in between from long mileage of walking. So on day 13, after breakfast, we board the bus and leave for Porto. This is a 3-hour drive through the incredible mountains and countryside of Portugal. We will check in at our hotel and enjoy free time for lunch, followed by an afternoon of the city with the cathedral, explore the interior of the church, visit Aliados Avenue, Sao Bento railway station, and we're planning to visit Livraria Lello, the bookstore that inspired J.K. Rowling while writing Harry Potter. We will celebrate our farewell dinner together at the hotel. So on day 14, which is our last day on the pilgrimage, after breakfast, we leave for Porto, back to New York. We will have a stopover that will be determined before reaching to JFK. So again, the airline and the flight information, we'll probably find out that information November of this year. So later on, ProRome will let us know which flights it would be, just in case anyone wants to book their own flights for the pilgrimage. So the $200 non-refundable deposit, it's due May 1st, if we still have space. So as of right now, we have about 14 spots left before we reach capacity. Last year, when we had an info session for the Italy pilgrimage, we had many people that registered on the spot. So the next payment is due in March of 2026. So after the $200 payment this year, you don't have to make another payment until March 2026. But you're more than welcome to send in payments from now until then. Please keep in mind that the final balance payment is due in May 2026, and that the airfare won't be determined until November of this year. You're more than welcome to book your own airfare, but you must book your flights for times before our flights to ensure that you are in Lisbon before or at the same time when we arrive. If you arrive later because your flight is delayed, you are responsible for your transportation to meet us. So if you haven't done so and you are interested in doing so, you are more than welcome to register with me tonight, because I am sending payments out to ProRome for people that have registered this week. You don't incur any additional fees if you give a check and mail it, but I will be sending the checks with like a registered tracking, so at least we can ensure that it gets to ProRome. So what are some common questions that come up? People usually ask what the meal options, what meal options will there be? Pilgrimage meals tend to be dependent on local cuisine, daily breakfast and dinner included, and depending where we are, we will just eat we'll eat the same food that the locals eat there. Will there be bathrooms along the Camino? Take advantage of all opportunities provided to use the bathroom. We would be walking 1.5 to 3 miles in between bathroom opportunities. Keep a small pack of tissues in case the restroom doesn't have toilet paper, and some restrooms require a small fee, and it's usually just a few coins. How long does my passport need to be valid for? At least 6 months after the return date of the trip. Sometimes people ask, what kind of lodging will there be? So it's double or single occupancy rooms. The single rooms are very limited. European guest rooms are smaller and simpler than what we're used to here in the United States. They may not provide blow dryers, coffee makers, microwaves, air conditioning, Wi-Fi, clothing irons, or shower soaps. So that's just something that you should be mindful of when signing up for the pilgrimage. What if I have allergies? Please record allergies and food restrictions on the registration form and mention it to the tour manager the first day abroad. Also bring any medication such as Benadryl or an EpiPen. It's very difficult to find allergy medication at pharmacies abroad, But you can bring any other medications taken regularly, pack extras in case your trip is unexpectedly extended. So there are pharmacies along the way, just in case you need to pick up anything, but sometimes the allergy medication is a little bit more difficult to find when you're overseas. Can I skip a walking day? The pilgrimage wasn't really designed to skip walking opportunities on the Camino. So in the event of a medical emergency, a pilgrim can request to be transferred to the hotel with the luggage, to the next hotel with the luggage. So, and then you would just have to wait until the group arrives. If you miss that bus, you are responsible for your own transport. So if you decide too late that I don't want to walk anymore or I can't walk anymore, we're going to have to find you a way to get, and then you'd be responsible for a taxi. But if you decide, the night before, I really can't walk, I think I need to see a doctor, then we can arrange with the tour guide to make sure that you get to the next destination, with the luggage, and we can arrange for that. How much walking will there be? So we went over in a few slides ago the specific distance in between towns. When you sign up on the registration form, Pro-Rome requires you to certify that you are physically able to walk at least 5 to 8 miles a day. On Camino days, we'll be walking up to 16 miles, and that includes any tours or church visits. So it's important that as long as you're able to walk 5 to 8 miles, you should be able to do this pilgrimage, because it's not like we're walking 16 miles straight. We will be stopping, there will be breaks, you'll have an opportunity to sit down. It's not like it's not a marathon. So you are able to walk. I want to say the tour director said it was 1.5 to 3 miles in between towns. So if you need to use the restroom for whatever reason, you want to get something to eat, you want to refill your water, there's going to be opportunities to do that. But I just know from experience with our walking group, we can do 3 miles easily without drinking water. We can just keep going, and we'll see how the group is doing. If you want to continue walking, you want to skip the town, we can definitely do that. We'll see how everyone's doing as we go along the Camino. Are there elevators? European hotels frequently do not have as many elevators as American hotels. It's another reason to pack as light as possible. What kind of weather will we experience? In late September, the weather along the Portuguese Camino is generally pleasant. Temperatures range between 59 to 81 degrees. It's mostly warm and dry, but occasional rain showers can occur. You can pack lightweight, breathable clothing for warm days, a rain jacket or poncho for unexpected showers, a light sweater or fleece for cooler mornings and evenings, and for comfortable waterproof hiking shoes for possible wet trails. You need to bring sun protection, such as a hat, sunglasses, sunscreen, as the sun can still be strong. So overall, in late September, it's a great time to walk the Portuguese Camino, as it's less crowded than peak season, and the weather is still favorable. What if I forget to pack something? The infrastructure of the Camino is well developed. In the event you need to purchase essential items that you may have forgotten or left at the previous hotel, you can find a place to purchase something similar along the way. Sometimes people ask how much euro currency should they bring. Sometimes card or smart pay might not be accepted, or the machines are not working. So when I spoke to the tour director, he said sometimes people will call their banks and they'll indicate, hey, I'm working overseas, I'm going somewhere overseas, I'd like to use my card. But when they get on the Camino, whatever equipment they're using out there cannot read the card. The card is not readable. So the tour director encourages us to bring at least 200 euro in small bills, just so that you're prepared to be able to pay for any small incidentals. I want to go, but I'm not sure if I can walk all those miles. What should I do? Committing to any pilgrimage requires much discernment and preparation. If you're interested in participating in the pilgrimage, now would be a good time to speak to your medical provider and ask them what you need to do to prepare for this type of pilgrimage. Your provider would be the best person to support any plans to prepare you physically for this. So if you're interested in this pilgrimage, there is practical planning involved. Once you've registered, I will include you on the mailing list so you can receive additional information on what we are doing as a parish to prepare for this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Over the next few months, we will go over in detail what to expect, what specifically to pack, and how to prepare each of you physically, spiritually, and mentally. So I know Father Patrick is due to be here any minute, but if anyone has any questions at this time, we can start answering any questions, like any specific questions at all. I know it was a lot of information on that one pager. You can refer to these slides that we shared today. You can refer to the live stream that's going on right now. It has contact information if you want to email us with some questions, but if anyone has any questions, we're here to answer them. Yes, go ahead. Okay, so the question was what is the suggested weight for your backpack when walking the Camino? I would suggest not more than 10 pounds, quite honestly. There's no need to have a heavy backpack. Your luggage, your carry-on and your medium check-in luggage is going to be transported from hotel to hotel. All you need to be responsible for is your day pack. So in your day pack, I would suggest that you have things like extra socks. You might sweat through your socks and want to change your socks. Depending on what time of day, if it's cooler in the morning, you might need room to put your sweater in if you have a fleece or some type of sweatshirt. Or it might be hot earlier in the day and you might, you just want to be able to have space in your backpack to put your clothing. But I do think 10 pounds is adequate. And quite honestly, so on the flight, your personal item, your backpack, your day pack that you're choosing, it has to be a specific size. And we'll go over the specifications of the dimensions of your personal item, but it can't be more than 4 pounds. Your backpack, your personal item that you bring on the airplane can't be more than 4 pounds. So you're more than welcome to bring like a bigger backpack if you want in your check-in, but your check-in can't be more than 50 pounds. And then your carry-on, I think it says you can't be more than, let me double check here. The carry-on can't be more than 20 pounds. Yeah, so the personal item is 4 pounds. So I would say no more than 10. Any other questions? Say it one more time, Eddie. So generally the question is, what happens if you're a faster walker than the others and the rest of the group is behind, or vice versa? What happens if you're a slow walker and everyone else is ahead? That's a great question. So as I mentioned earlier, part of the land-only package, we will be provided audio guide systems. Sometimes they're called like whispers. If you travel too far ahead, you might be too ahead and you won't be able to hear the directions from the tour guide. If you are walking too far behind, the same thing, you might not be able to hear it. So you'll know how far behind you are, because when the tour guide is talking and it starts getting staticky, that means there's too much of a distance in between. So the maximum capacity for this pilgrimage is 35 people. We don't anticipate it, we're not going over 35 people. I do think we will be able to keep the group as close together as possible. But I don't imagine people walking 1 or 2 miles ahead of everyone else, maybe a few feet. But the tour guide would be able to keep up. And then we'll be able to see, where the strong walkers are, where the slower walkers are. But we're trying to keep the group together as much as possible, especially for the tours. We have to keep everyone together so everyone can hear the content that's being shared by the tour guide. All right. Any other questions? No? Everyone ready to sign up and go walking? Go ahead, Eddie, you have another one?
What time are we starting in the morning?
What time do we start in the morning? So it depends on, we didn't get the official schedule. So the question was, what time do we start early in the morning? We didn't get the official schedule of where we're celebrating Mass. So depending on what times the local churches allow us to do Mass, that will determine what time we get up. But I would imagine most mornings are going to be 7, 8. We would start, as far as walking, probably shortly after, between 8 and 9 in the morning. And it really just depends on how early we celebrate Mass. Will there be times that we celebrate at 6 a.m.? Probably not, but if that's the availability of the local church, it might be. But I think the plan is to do it after breakfast, after breakfast and before we start walking, depending on which town we're in. But we're trying to celebrate Mass before we start walking on the Camino. Good questions. Anyone else? Yes. Yes, we actually have 3 priests coming with us. Father Patrick will be joining us, Father Robert will be joining us, and we have Father Emmanuel from New Orleans that will also be joining us. So we were very, very lucky to have 3 priests joining this pilgrimage. That's an excellent question. Yes. That's a good question. So me personally, I would buy bottles of water, but from what I understand, and Angelica, you've been to Portugal before. Have you drinking the water from the faucets there?
I don't. They mostly recommend, especially if you do have a
Digestive.
always buy water bottled water. That's the best. But we would have to double check how's the water in each of the towns,
Right.
if it's portable. But a lot of the times what they do is they would have fountains that have filtered water that you can use. But they will let you know along the way if the water, what we would have to figure out.
Yeah.
Can we bring a bottle of water with filter? Yes.
Yes. Yeah, so I definitely have one of those Brita water filtered water bottles, and I usually just bring an extra water filter replacement with me. But I would prefer personally to buy my own bottled water. So what I did was each of the hotels that we will be staying at, I bookmarked pharmacies and supermarkets. So just because we have free time in between, you can always go and get your snacks, and you can go pick up water if needed. But you just have to be mindful of the weight. You don't want to carry 2 liters of water. But it really depends on how much water you're drinking, or how much you want. But you definitely have to stay hydrated for this type of pilgrimage.
Yeah, one of the things that we were talking before the meeting is a lot of times we don't know how to drink water while we're in pilgrimage. We'll get really thirsty and all of a sudden we just take an entire water bottle and we just drink it. That's gonna make us go to the bathroom more often. So it's a matter of pacing how you drink water along the way. So you don't want to drink an entire 8 ounces of water at one shot. So little by little, you start drinking sips. So you don't get your bladder filled with water. And that's going to help you along the way. That way you don't also drink a lot of water, but it also gives you time to get to different stops and get water. So you just have to pace yourself and how to do that as well.
Right. Any other questions?
The sun, how bad is it 10 to 1 o'clock in the afternoon?
How strong is the sun? I don't think it's so bad in September. I don't think it's not going to be that hot during. I wouldn't say it wouldn't be that much beaming during September. I think the hotter months are in July and August, and that's why we picked this time of year, late September going to October. We didn't really want, we wanted a little bit cooler, but we also didn't want to deal with the rain because it's more of a rain season in October. So I don't think it's so bad at 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but you definitely will encounter sun.
We will be completely open. Yeah, we're not walking under the shadow, hats. Yeah, so it's gonna be long sleeves or a hat, sunglasses,
Right.
sunscreen. That's necessary. Walking sticks?
Walking sticks, excellent question. It really depends on you. So if you find, I guess if you, this is the deal I'll make with everyone. If you decide to buy a walking stick, I expect you to be at our walking group at least once a week so you can test out the walking stick. Because if you buy a walking stick and you decide to first use it on the pilgrimage, I guarantee it's going to be packed away in your luggage by the end. Like, you have to know how to use a walking stick. So the walking stick, depending if you use one or two, it's really up to you. It's really just to help you be stable. But you have to know how to walk with it. It's really supposed to alleviate the weight on one leg versus the other. I plan on bringing one walking stick only because I need something where I can put my camera on to be able to take pictures. So mine is like a little dual purpose. There are some people that plan on bringing 2 walking sticks. You're more than welcome to do that. And if you forget or decide later on the trip to get a walking stick, I guarantee you will find a walking stick along the way. A lot of people, after they do the Camino, they kind of give up the walking stick. Like, I don't need this anymore. Some people bring it home as a souvenir, but there is a place where people do leave their old walking sticks to allow other pilgrims to use it. So, and even if you do decide to buy one, some of them are very inexpensive, and you definitely want to buy a walking stick that's lightweight. So it's not, even if it's folded and you're carrying it in your backpack, it's not going to weigh 10 pounds. Most walking sticks weigh about 1.5 to 2 pounds. You can bring walking sticks through TSA, yes, absolutely. Especially if it's the foldable one. But if you're bringing like a staff, yeah, we would just have to let them know ahead of time, like, this is my, like, walking tree staff. Like, Father Patrick wants a Gandalf walking stick, so we'll just have to call TSA ahead of time to give them a heads up. Yeah, any other questions? No? Everyone prepared to go walking?
They'll have we would have to pay for visas to go to Europe.
Yes. So even for our Italy pilgrimage this year, that tour company had said that they're unsure. It might get held off again. But once the time comes, and if we have to get the visas for Europe, we would be responsible for getting them. And it's inexpensive. It's through an online system. Once they finalize what those requirements are, we will always let the pilgrims know ahead of time, make sure that everyone has the paperwork that they need, and if anyone needs assistance, we'll be here to help you. But supposedly, tentatively, the visa system, by then, we would be using it. They said it was supposed to happen sometime later this year.
Oh, we have to get a visa. It's not really a visa. It's really more of a security clearance.
Yeah.
Many countries now employ those security clearances when you enter the country. They just want to make sure that you're not involved in any terrorist groups or anything. So what they do is that you would have to apply this security clearance, and then they will do a background check. Which one?
That's different.
No, that's different. Global entry, I think, is given by.
Yeah, so global entry is for returning back to the States. Sometimes the customs line can be up to an hour. It's like the winding road line where you have to wait to speak to like an agent to kind of explain where you came from, who you're traveling with. And with global entry, it's like an express line where you walk up to a machine, it takes your picture. It's like you've already went through the security process because you would have met with a customs border agent prior to going on the trip. And it's valid, I think, for how many years? 2 years. 3 years. And it includes TSA pre-check. So that's another reason why people usually get global entry. So TSA pre-check is different. That's screening to go through security when leaving the United States. Go ahead.
There are some countries that accept global entry when you in their country. In Argentina, for example, I was in Argentina and they accepted my global entry when I was coming back.
So they'll accept global entry, but the global entry does not substitute the visa to enter Europe. It just helps you with security within the airports.
That's their own system. It doesn't, One thing that is also helpful coming back into the country, they have an app that you can download into your phone. And as you're coming in, you just input all your passport details and everything, and there is a special line that you can go into, and I think it's much quicker than global entry. Yeah, so that's something that could be helpful coming back in.
Something that just came up. I was in Portugal in August, and the night in Compostela can be chilly. So we can experience a change of weather, of temperature drastically during that time. It could be very nice and warm during the day, and then at night you will need a sweater. So think of that change, particularly also your body. So you may want to also increase your immune system, with zinc or vitamin C, like bring those things also. As you're drinking water, it's also nice to buy those little packets of emergency, or what's the other one for sports?
Airborne?
No, airborne, no, but the other one for sports, like the Gatorades. To hydrate.
Oh, the electrolytes?
The electrolytes, there you go, that's the right word. They sell these small packets of electrolytes that you can put in your water, which will help you along the way, particularly if you're walking very long distance.
All right. Any other questions, concerns? Yes.
You talked about the day maybe starting around 9 or 8, 9 in the morning. When does the day end? Because I hear you talking about, and then you can rest, and then we're going to have dinner. Like how much resting time, and when are you talking about dinner time?
Yeah, so I want to say in Europe, they kind of eat a little bit late.
After
Yeah.
7.
So it's very possible when we're walking from place to place, because realistically, walking 16 miles straight could easily be 7 to 8 hours. And we're talking about possibly stopping in between places. So if we're starting the morning, 7, 8, and depending if we're celebrating Mass, it's very possible we're not getting to our destination till 7, 8 in the evening. So we are, but that's why a lot of the itinerary is, so you'll have time to rest, because we're going to need it. You're going to need as much rest as possible in between things. And sometimes when you're away from home, you don't fall asleep right away, right? Like sometimes you might want to be up, you're checking on things, and you probably won't sleep until after 12, getting up early again the next morning. Like Angelica said, you can get very sick, so it's very important to take your supplements, to hydrate, have the electrolytes. But it's very possible that we will have early mornings and longer and late nights, and then you might not be able to get so much sleep. But that's why we're trying to rest as much as possible. As soon as we check into a hotel, you'll get some rest time before we have dinner.
I suggest if you're going to take those, like the vitamin C before, take them 2 days before you travel. Because it takes a while for the body to kind of build up that, So it's better that you take that again on the plane, because, planes, we're circulating the same air. It's better that we kind of put a lot of defense into our immunity, at that time. So, because a lot of times people get sick from the plane and they didn't know. Once they get on land, that's because there's an incubation period. So take the vitamin C right before traveling.
Yeah, so that's a good point, Father Patrick, as far as like taking your vitamins even prior to kind of prep your body. And I had said it earlier, if you're unsure about coming on this pilgrimage, you have some questions, talk to your medical provider. Ask those questions now. Let them know, I want to go on this pilgrimage. It's a lot of walking. I might not be getting sleep some nights. What can I do to prepare? Do I need to be on a certain type of supplement? Your medical provider would be able to share that, share a plan with you, and then check up on you 6 months from now to see how you're doing with that. You want to be on the right track physically, for it. And your medical provider probably would be the best person to talk to. Whenever I go on these pilgrimages, I always make sure I see my medical provider 3 months prior to departure, to kind of have that conversation. Hey, am I in good health? Is there anything I need to do? Because if there's something that I do need to do, I have 3 months to fix it before I leave. And at that meeting, I always ask my medical provider, can you give me an emergency pack of antibiotics? Please give it to me, because it's definitely helpful, because you don't know if you'll get sick. And on this last pilgrimage, I didn't get sick, someone else got sick, and luckily I had it because they were very sick. And they needed it. And I'm not encouraging people, to be giving your medication, but there are some instances where it'd be very useful for you to have an emergency pack of antibiotics. But you need to have that conversation with your medical provider. Yes? Oh. Right? Right. Wow. Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. The other recommendation they say is that if you take any particular medication and you must take the medication, you can ask your doctor to give you a prescription. In case that does happen, like bring the prescription with you so that if you lose your medication, you know that you have to take it, and there's a way for you to go to a pharmacy, at least with some doctor note that that's necessary, particularly medication that you must take on a daily basis.
And
Good thing too is that it's not just physical preparation that you have to do, because a pilgrimage like this is not like the other pilgrimages. This can get very taxing. So you also have to get some spiritual preparation with it, because your spiritual preparation will be able to give you that necessary inspiration to be able to pull you through the pilgrimage. There are also some movies. There's a movie called The Way with Martin Sheen. That was a very, very powerful movie. I know a lot of people cried watching it, but it was it's a lot. After a person watches that movie, many of them were inspired to do the walk. And the route that we are taking from Portugal to Spain, this is actually one of the oldest route that they have for Compostela. And it's one of the ancient ones that, so we're going through Tui. Is that Tui?
Tui. Right.
That's one of the older stations, beginnings of the walk. Yeah, so it's, I'm looking forward to this pilgrimage. Go up and down. That's why if you're going to take a walking stick, the walking stick is a good way of keeping yourself in the balance. So if you're going to be walking up, you might need to kind of hold on to something. So the walking stick might be helpful for that.
Yeah, I think the day that you say that we walked the least, the 9
Yes.
miles, that's, even though it's less miles, but it's a lot more hilly, it's a lot more, it could be a little more complicated in regards to walking. It's a very, we would have.
So I just pulled it up on the screen. So when we start walking from Tui to Oporino, we'll be going through forests. It's like gravel, dirt roads. But in Oporino, it's going to be a little bit of an incline. Like there's a little bit of hills. So it really depends where we are. As you see in Oporino, there's, it's really going up a hill. The path is going up a hill. So a walking stick might be helpful, for that. And sometimes there's going to be cobblestone roads. It's going to be various different paths that we'll be taking. But like Father Patrick said, so this is actually the Portuguese route. The true Portuguese route starts in Lisbon, where we will be flying into, but we're not walking from Lisbon. We're walking from the border of Portugal and Spain, and Tui in Spain, up to Compostela, which is about, I think it's 74 miles. So in order to get the Compostela certificate, we have to walk at least 62 miles. So this is really just a taste of the Camino. The Camino Frances is the one that was shown in that movie, The Way. It's almost 500 miles. It's a longer route. It's 3 weeks up to a month. It's a pilgrimage. But this is a good taste of it. For some people, go on this route for the first time, and then they come back a few years later and do a longer route, and eventually all the routes. So it really depends. But it is a different experience, a different type of pilgrimage. And like Father Patrick said, it's not just the physical, it's a spiritual preparation, it's the mental preparation. So for those that have never walked, and when I say never walk, I'm talking more than the supermarket, the laundromat, BJ's, that's considered walking. It is. Right now at this point, if you are seriously interested and you are not a daily walker, you should be walking at the minimum 1 to 2 miles in your own home. That's in front of the TV, up and down the stairs, up and down the driveway. Eventually, towards the end of this season, going into spring, summer, you should be pushing yourself to be walking 2 to 3 miles a day, if not on a daily basis, at least 3 to 4 times a week. If you join our walking group, we walk usually every Saturdays at the minimum. We try to do at least 2.5 to 3 miles. Some of us meet other days in the week. We do a little bit more, 4 miles, 5 miles. But at home, you can easily do, if you counted your steps, I'm sure each of you would probably be doing 3,000, 5,000 steps, which is equivalent to about 2 miles. So you do want to get to a point where you can do 5 miles easily without issue. So if you do join our walking group, I do plan on our walking group to walk to St. Patrick's Cathedral in Manhattan, which is 16 miles. We will be stopping at several parishes along the way to make it doable, and we'll be riding the railroad home. So it's going to be done. I plan on doing it in 4 different times from now until when we go on this pilgrimage, just to see if we can do it. There are other parishes that are 5 miles from here, front and back, back and forth. There's St. Anastasia's up in Northern Boulevard. If we walk that, that's about 8 miles to and from. St. Gerard Magellan is 3 miles to and from. So there's a lot of local churches that we can visit. So it's all doable, and if you are really seriously, if you want to train for this, I guarantee if you join the walking group, even if you just joined it once a week for now and eventually 2 to 3 times a week in the future, you'll be physically preparing yourself better than most pilgrims that go on this pilgrimage. So there is an opportunity for you to, physically prepare yourself. But if you can do 5 miles easily without issue, I don't think you'll have a problem doing this pilgrimage. All right.
And you should prepare. Don't expect to go, I'm going to go to the pilgrimage and start walking there.
Any other questions? Yes, Carla.
How many pairs of shoes do you think you need?
I would say 2. At least 2 pairs of shoes, because if they get wet, so that's another thing, and we'll have more conversations about what type of sneaker do I need hiking boots. You don't need clunky hiking boots. You don't need Timberland construction boots for something like this. You do need something that will give you the support you need. So, and you just have to know your body, you just have to know how you walk. I prefer ankle support. Some people prefer the low-cut sneaker because they want their ankles to move. I personally prefer the ankle support, but again, that's a conversation you should have with your medical provider. They can give you advisements on, on your type of foot, what kind of sneaker you would need or shoe you would need. I would definitely suggest, I spoke to the tour director about this because I was getting a lot of mixed information about sizing up on the shoe because your feet may swell because of all the walking. And the tour director said half a size bigger should be adequate. Some people do a full size, it depends. Some people do the 500-mile walk, I can imagine why they did a full size. But for the walk that we're doing, the tour director said half a size is fine. So if you're normally a size 8, you can go to an 8.5. If you're normally a 9, you can go to a 9.5. But definitely, if you're gonna buy a shoe specifically for the pilgrimage, please go to the store. Don't just order it from Amazon. Try the shoe out, walk around in it, and test it out and see if it fits for you. But I suggest you bring at least 2 because it's very possible if it rains and your shoe is not waterproof, it's going to be soaked. It might not be dry enough for the next day. So it's a good idea to be able to swap out your shoes.
Or even have a pair of shoes that if it gets damaged or wet, you can just throw away.
Yeah.
Like, don't bring any type of shoes that you like, oh man, I should have just brought my other shoes.
Right.
Be willing to throw it away if it's necessary.
Right.
And memorize some songs, so you might want to sing a lot.
So we'll have the tour guide speaking to us.
I'm
in
sorry?
Audio. No, he said to remember songs so that we can sing along the way, but she's mentioning that we would have
Right.
the tour guide on our ears.
Right. And I don't think that
And
audio
audio.
will be on the whole time, because if you think about it, it's a lot of walking. I do know we'll be using it when we go to churches where we have to kind of keep our voices down. I don't know how much of it we'll be using along the Camino. A lot of times, and those in the walking group, I know you guys can all agree that there are times where we're walking, we're not talking, we're just quietly walking, right? So it really depends on where we're at. Sometimes Father Patrick will start the rosary. You know, this is going to be a little bit different. We won't be on a bus, so there's no way for people to fall asleep. We have to pray with Father Patrick as he's walking and saying the rosary. So it really depends on what we're doing. But I know there's going to be some moments where we won't be talking and we'll just be walking.
I'm curious about bathrooms.
Bathrooms? Yeah, so we had mentioned it earlier as far as that was actually one of our common questions. So will there be bathrooms along the Camino? I had asked the tour guide, realistically, how far will we be traveling from town to town before we can use the bathroom again? He said it's about 1.5 to 3 miles in between towns. So if like there's an emergent need, you know, and that's absolutely doable, because if you think about it, that's about 45 minutes to an hour. He was explaining how the infrastructure of the Camino is very well developed. That, you know, it's made for visitors. It's made for people to be able to stop along the way, that you can even buy a small little sandwich for 2-3 euro just to kind of nourish yourself and keep going. If you need to buy a bottle of water, use the restrooms, that you're able to do that between towns. But we had mentioned to the those that are here tonight that, you know, we'll see how the pilgrims are going. Like if we did 3 miles and we feel like, hey, we can do another 3 miles, we might continue walking, but the opportunity to use the restroom is available for those that do need it. Coins, yeah. So that was another question that's usually asked, as far as how much currency should we bring. So the tour director indicated at least 200 euro in small coins and cash, only because sometimes smart pay and cards may not be, like the machines might not be working when you're on the Camino, so it's important to have like small change, because ATMs might not even be available. So just to have that on you, and sometimes the bathrooms will just cost a few coins. Good questions. Anyone else? Okay. Father Patrick, did you want anything else to say? We did. We did cover a lot. And, you know, I guess we usually just like to remind those that have not been on a pilgrimage with us before, it's not a vacation. Absolutely not a vacation. But it doesn't mean it's not going to be a wonderful experience. You know, this is a different way to experience the world, experience more for yourself, learn about yourself. But I just want to remind people that it's definitely not a vacation. And just to be mindful of, you know, the expectations and standards as us coming from the United States. What we consider a 5-star hotel is unheard of in Europe. You know, what they consider a 3-star hotel is not what we consider a 3-star hotel. But we wanted to keep this experience as authentic as possible. We spoke to several tour companies about it, and we were offered different packages, and this was probably the most authentic, where we weren't staying in hostels. So sometimes when people do the Camino, they have all their luggage on their backpack, they have a tent, they have a sleeping bag, and they're carrying like 50 pounds on their back from town to town. We are not doing that. This is like a glamorous way of enjoying the Camino, but still keeping it as authentic as possible. Like we are staying in different hotels, town to town on the way, and we will have a bus assisting us carrying our luggage. But you will see pilgrims along the way that will have these big trail mounting backpacks. That will not be us. We'll have little cute backpacks, water bottles, sunscreen. We will be comfortable. We do want this to be a comfortable trip for everyone. Epsom salt. There's different things that I've read that you can do. So I bought toe merino wool socks, like toe socks. I'm not a big fan of them, but they are super comfortable. And it's important, the difference between regular socks and toe socks is that your toenails are not digging into each other. When you have the toe socks that kind of keep your toes separate. And the merino wool soaks up like all that moisture. So it's very important to kind of look into those things. And as we go along in this pilgrimage and prepare, we'll share more information like that once you've registered on like things like, when's a good time to buy new luggage? Do I need new luggage? Who has sales on sneakers? Like we'll share all that type of information so you're not spending hundreds of dollars on things you probably won't need. But you definitely should bring a Europe adapter if you don't have one already. Usually they have that on Amazon. Very useful to have. And just be mindful that in some hotels, they will not have Wi-Fi. I looked at all the hotels that we'd be staying at. Most of them do, but there are some that have, people have reported that there was no Wi-Fi. So, if that's something that's important to you, the bus, though, that we'll be using will have Wi-Fi available for it, or you just have to pay the roaming fee. And I suggest you talk to your cell phone providers and find out how much that is. AT&T used to charge $10. I think it's like up to $12 now per day. So it can add up. You're talking about 13 days overseas, 13, 14 days out of the country can add up. Any other questions, comments? Angelica, you have anything for us? No? Father Patrick? Yeah. Okay, so on that one-pager, if you signed up, there are QR codes on it. If you know anyone that may be interested in the pilgrimage, the slideshow that we shared tonight, there's a QR code on that paper. The wording of this info session is on that paper as well. If you want more information on the WhatsApp group for the walking group, it's on there. And even we have a separate WhatsApp group for the Camino. Just in case you have any questions that come up, you can join the WhatsApp group and ask your questions on there. Okay? Do we have any what? Any other plans? Like another pilgrimage? Oh, we do. So in 2027, we are planning to go to Japan. So that's in 2027. That's, yeah, so we won't put that out until probably closer to the Camino. There's a lot of history in Japan, like a Catholic history and just world history, and we'll be seeing it all. So that's going to be an interesting trip because I think between town to town we'll be traveling by bullet train. So that's interesting. So 2027, yeah. Any other questions? I couldn't hear him. What did he say? Oh, that's on my list too, Eddie. I've been looking at that as well. There's a few places, there's a few companies that offer it. I think one, was it in Kenya? South Africa, I can't remember, but that's definitely something I've been looking at as well. Oh, not South Africa right now. Okay, yeah. Yeah. There's opportunities. There's so many places that we can visit. Father Patrick was even just talking about Hawaii. Because I feel like before we planned for the Italy pilgrimage, we were talking about Hawaii, but then we realized it was the Jubilee year. So. It's a wonderful way to see the world. Go on a pilgrimage. All right? So I think that's all we have. If anyone has any questions or you're interested in signing up this evening, you can see me after. I'll be here for a few more minutes. Thanks, everyone.
I can go in here?
Exodus going to Vegas.